and the lights are on, and then the lights drop, and then they play. They've been doing the same thing for years. Wait, hold on a second. They've played the same intro music forever, and what it does is it's like this kind of orchestra music that just builds and builds, and then Lars Ulrich comes out and fucking gets everybody going, and then they break into like their fastest shit ever, and it goes insane. And I get that vibe with this music.
Holy shit! Ethereum is breaking out right now.
It is ripping. I'm like,
Ethereum is breaking out right now.
Talk about this fucking dog that's been like, it's had the heaviest weights around its neck, and the Solana.
Are we chest pounding to this or what?
We're chest pounding to this. I'm in a fucking good mood this week.
Hey guys, ETH's looking good, but
that's a live chat between us.
I'm gonna just go shit on y'all's parade. We got one more push down coming
for ETH.
Count it, 1700.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
No, we don't. Bitcoin's gonna dump. ETH's going up.
80%.
And you're gonna be stuck in the sidelines, crying like a little baby.
Well, I'm not in or out. I'm just where I'm at, but it's like painting this beautiful triangle right now.
And I just went $40. You guys sound like
it's busting out of the top of the triangle, man.
It's gonna be like Messi busting out of his tank top in Miami in 2 months.
Look. Here's the thing. Like Miami, there's gonna be pool parties and shit there. Like I'm not gonna be the dude that's built like shit at the pool party. Like I'm going to the gym 6 days a week. Like I refuse to let anybody see me in my current state. You know, I revived my old weightlifting Twitter account. A couple of people follow me there. I'm not gonna say it because I honestly don't want people to follow me there. But if you do follow me there, it's basically just me complaining about shit I see in the gym while I'm there and like in between sets. But the whole thing is that like, you know, like I'm not going to show anybody what I look like until I'm pretty, right? You know, I don't want anybody to see me at my worst. I want people to see me at my best. And I feel like 2 months is enough time for some serious recomposition to happen. So
yeah, because you have a propensity to put your muscle back, and you have good memory, right? Muscle memory.
I've got good muscle memory. To be honest, like I was just a real piece of shit. But you know, and I've talked about mental health in my streams a little bit over the past couple of weeks. You know, because I've been going through a little bit of stuff. But the main thing is like I've been back in the gym 2 days, and I feel like $1 million. Like I've made an excuse to myself after I was pretty religious in 2020 about going to the gym. You know, doing my cardio, all that kind of stuff. You know, I really tried to make fitness a priority. And then that just kind of fell apart. And I just feel like everything kind of fell apart with it, you know, along with some other shit too. But at the same time, like get back in the gym, like, you know, you can't just be like healthy wallet. You know, you've got to be healthy mind, you know, healthy body. You've got to do all that kind of shit. I've literally like my level of alpha and confidence has already gone up by a factor of like 10. And I think my ego is twice as big after being in the gym for like 2 days. Like I'm already like walking around like this and shit, you know, like bumping into people and. You know.
Are you doing a phantom lat spreads and like bumping into people and shit?
Yeah. You gotta claim your territory, man. You gotta let them know that you know who's the big dog in here. Like
it's amazing.
Yeah. It doesn't take much, and I'm in the exact same boat as you. You literally just described my 2020, my 2021, and I'm thinking, wow, equity curve up, so I can get fat. And I hit rock bottom yesterday. Now, I had a history of back injuries. I've had 2, just from sitting too much, working out, and then sitting too much, and then trying to lift something, and then pulling something. And yesterday, I was walking the dog, this little bulldog, and he just pulled once, and I was like, and it just like tweaked my back, and I went home and lay down. And that was like my rock bottom. I was like, nope, I'm not.
You're an old timer if walking the dog hurts
I'm
your
like
back.
mid 30s, and he just tugged on it once, and I was like, fuck. So yeah, I hit rock bottom yesterday. I hit the Peloton this afternoon, like actually 20 minutes ago.
I forgot you got the Peloton. How
you got to get angry, man. That's how
it's
how it
good.
goes.
It's good, man. It's hype. Like you get in there, and the trainer's just like, come on, 1, 2, let's go. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm winning.
Can you see the other people in the class with you, or does it just feel like a one-on-one?
It's him in the studio, and then there's like a leaderboard. So if you want to pull that up, and then you can be like,
I love that.
Oh, that's dope. So you can be competitive and.
Wait, it's him in the studio. I thought the whole thing was.
Jess King.
Yeah, you get the.
well, I'm cycling
Jess
through.
King
I'm on
admittedly got me excited about the Peloton. I remember the first time we got the Peloton, and we had one at DV in the training room, and once Jess King popped up, it was fucking. I was like living on that Peloton.
Yeah, I'm on my third trainer right now. I'm cycling through like a new one each day. There's like 30, but they're all pretty good. There's one boring ass chick that I was with last week. She was whack, but other than that, they're hype. And that's it. Like you said, I refuse to continue this piece of shit existence into the summer. Whether I don't think I can go to Miami anyways because the borders and vaccines and all that shit. But
yeah, what's the deal with Canada? Or do they have that shit locked down? Like,
no, our vaccine is shit right now. Like, it's slow. My father-in-law is like 87 and he just got his.
Wow.
Yeah, and like teachers are apparently like round one. They're supposed to be like frontline workers. They're not until maybe July. So my odds
definitely get it
by
first.
May are very slim, and then I don't think I'll be allowed to come into the U.S. But I don't know. I was looking at it yesterday though, but it's going to be an ugly pool party. Like the whole world is just so fat from this bull market and the COVID. Yeah. So you're going to be ahead of the curve if you start now.
Hey man, it's all about how you hold yourself, and you just gotta like, you gotta walk like, you gotta, you got it going on. I think you just gotta fucking own whatever you got. You got a tire around your gut, fucking own it. Like,
yeah, it's all about confidence.
Well, that's really
what
swag. Yeah,
I agree. I'm gonna Jonah Hill it out there and just like.
Shut up. You don't look like Jonah Hill.
And have a
Get out of here. You talk that shit all day. You don't look like Jonah Hill. Fuck out of here.
I mean,
dude, you've been a fucking disciplined keto guy for.
Yeah, easy for Rob to say with his fucking chiseled ass jaw, and natural athletic build.
He doesn't look like the gullet head.
Yeah, I'm just kind of ugly right now. I'm just gonna be Jonah Hill out there. Like, okay.
It's he's confident with it. He knows his role there. He's going to get a couple laps out of the crowd. He's going to have some beverages and get a sunburn, and he knows what he's doing there.
But then you see like random pictures of him when he shows up like in on like Conan or something, and he's like half the size. And then I'm like, bro, like you're losing everything that you sold me on originally. So just like go back to whatever it was you were doing, like living your life.
Well, he wasn't fat. He got skinny for a while, and then he stopped getting cast because nobody wants that funny skinny dude that is already ugly as fuck and like used to be the funny fat.
By the way, whose titties now are like hanging even more because he's got so much extra skin.
Pancake tits.
I love Jonah
Hill. Not gonna fucking work.
I love him.
Yeah,
Too.
I watched Moneyball the other day. He is so good.
He's
so good.
Yeah. I watched 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street with my wife a couple weeks ago, and I just died. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. And you guys, there it is. You love Jonah Hill. Jonah doesn't give a crap what he's looking like at the pool. He's hanging. That's kind of what I'm. I'm not gonna work out extra right now. I'm gonna show up, and they're not gonna be. It's all.
Well,
he's the guy that wears he wears the shirt in the pool so he doesn't get sunburned.
Yeah.
Look, and I'm really happy for you. That you have that degree of confidence in yourself. But me, I'm gonna look up looking like very good.
Oh no, dude! I'm
good.
Like I said before, I got a trainer 3 days a week right now.
Thick. I'm gonna be thick, solid.
Like I'm not letting. Yeah.
You're gonna look like that green candle that Ethereum's trying to paint right now. Should we look at this thing?
Yeah, let's go to that. Let's go to this chart.
Let's look at this shit.
I'm fiending for a chart, and the only reason I'm gonna pull up this one is because this is what I had drawn yesterday when we were halfway up here, and so we've just arrived to the T. And I can't abandon my fib pong now. Not that I'm going to short this thing, but it's analysis. It's pretty standard stuff, Test the all-time highs right down in this reload zone, bounce up into the short reload zone, trend down to the reload zone, bounce up to the short reload zone. I mean, this stuff is the bread and butter of these fibs. So, you want to call breakouts. I bet there's a lot of people right now getting hyped up on Twitter, and they're going to long the shit out of this. They're going to get squeezed. They're going to dip, and then we're going to pump the shit out of it. That's my 2 cents. Sticking to it.
Let's look at the ETH BTC cross too, because the other day I thought Ethereum had news that was worthy of like an old school green dildo explosion pump and
mega pump, yeah.
Didn't get it, with the USDC and I just, to me it was disappointing. And I think if on the day Ethereum, it didn't do much at all, and even the ETH BTC cross was just hovering around 0.03, like 3 million. It didn't do anything. It felt like it had a weight around its shoulders. And what is it? I mean, are there problems really, or like, is it this, like, Solana had a big, like, it just had, everyone was on Solana's jock over the last week and a half. It's had great price
That's
action.
amazing. Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, but like Ethereum just it was getting no money flow on what I thought was big news. And
So here's my take on that. You know, we've been, people keep saying win alt season. Well, we've been in alt season, I feel like, for 3 months now. You know, the biggest difference between this alt season and the alt season we saw in 2017, in my opinion, this alt season is much more, and I guess maybe because there's a lot more options out there, it's a lot more secular. Like, I feel like this section, you know, of coins is now, you know, what's hot, and then it moves to this section, and then it moves to this section. So, you know, we saw Ethereum and Ethereum-based DeFi when Bitcoin pulled back about 30% from early January to early February. We saw Ethereum and Ethereum-based DeFi do really well. I mean, most of my Ethereum-based DeFi bags went 5 to 10x, which is just absolutely fantastic. It was a very short period of time. And most of those bags now are probably drawn down between anywhere, you know, 50 to 70%, which is just what fucking happens in crypto. You know, hopefully we establish a new base and then we make new highs in the future. But what happened is Ethereum-based DeFi started getting hot again, and then bam, you hit the wall again of scalability. You hit the wall of, holy shit, it costs $200 to make a trade. So what did people do? People said, well, fuck this. You know, I want to be an ape right now. I've got some extra money. I'm going to move over. And Binance Smart Chain was the first place which called that rotation. So boom, moved over to BSC, and everybody is just getting rich as hell over there. I mean, left and right, everything's popping off. Everything's looking great. And that was an even shorter season, I feel like, than what we saw with Ethereum-based DeFi. And then you had a rotation, and people coined the next rotation the Samdemic. You know, you have Solana, Serum. I mean, FTT has just been hot as fuck and just nonstop. That's just a straight up freight train. And I don't know when it's going to fucking stop either. But I really, really feel like in the air right now, everybody thinks Ethereum is dead. And it's very similar, in my opinion, to kind of the same attitude towards Bitcoin at the end of DeFi summer, when you had all of the Ethereum people and all of the DeFi people just laughing at the Bitcoiners. Why would you be in this old doo-doo, you know, old man coin when we've been making life-changing money over here, you know, blah, blah, blah. That's how people are acting towards Ethereum right now. So I think everybody's hilariously underexposed to Ethereum, hilariously underexposed to Ethereum-based DeFi as well. And Ethereum has some powerful narratives coming up. You know, you have EIP 1559, which in my opinion is going to be the top for Ethereum. You also have these, you know, layer 2 scalability solutions coming online. You have Optimism, you have Arbitrum. And I think if we have time, we'll get into those a little bit, maybe towards the latter part of the stream. I don't want to talk too much about them right now, but the fact of the matter is that for the next couple of months, you have this attitude that Ethereum is just totally dead, which, you know, hey, maybe that's time to get exposed. And then you have all of these catalysts coming up for Ethereum as well. And then that chart, you know, the Ethereum Bitcoin chart just looks fantastic. So we'll see what happens. I'm not of the mind that, hey, you know, Bitcoin or Ethereum is going to make a new all-time high versus Bitcoin. I don't think it maybe ever will, at least in this cycle. But at the same time, you've got a lot of people looking at that Ethereum Bitcoin chart saying, is that a Livermore accumulation cylinder? I could see 0.06 to 0.08.
Dude, what'd you
you tweeted 0.082 the other day, and I like, it got me going. I wanted to just fire back because I mean,
that would be fantastic. Yeah, Starkware too. Starkware is huge, and not enough people are talking about Starkware. But that's going to be a really, really good scalability solution. Here's the thing about all these scalability solutions. All of those scalability solutions are going to come online towards the top of this next run. And I really do feel like that's going to be a liquidity event, you know, and people are going to be very excited and people are going to be FOMOing.
I think that's a really intelligent take, actually.
I think that's about the time that you need to start getting the fuck out, and maybe getting exposed again to some Solana-based narratives that, you know, all of these Solana-based narratives, and what people keep forgetting about Solana is Solana is so young. And all of these narratives are going to take time to get the users, to get the liquidity. So it's very, very smart to keep some of those plays in your back pocket, you know, look at the developments, watch the charts. Because Solana's going to have a huge season soon. And a big part of that is going to be, like we saw with DeFi Summer, actual users coming in. actual TVL growth, actual adoption, volume, all of that kind of thing. And while this Ethereum-based shit is pumping over the next month or two, Solana is just going to be build. And I think that it's going to be a much, much more favorable place to kind of move over to after this is all said and done. And then also a rotation back into Bitcoin. But I mean, we'll see. That's my narrative. That's where my money is. Maybe I'm fucking wrong and I'm about to get wrecked. We'll see.
What do you guys know about Solana's coding language? I heard it's Rust, but then soon they're going to actually be offering Solidity. Is that a thing? And do we have a date on that?
It's Rust, and it's like basically learning to code on Solana is learning Rust effectively. It's very
but like I heard that's being like as a bit of a bottleneck is the word I got. But then somebody said actually pretty soon they're going to be rolling out a Solidity option to build in Solana. Is that accurate?
I heard something similar as well, and I heard it had something to do with Wormhole. But that's about the extent of my knowledge.
Yeah, I haven't been privy to anything around that.
Because that's actually our producer that told me that a few days ago. So, I mean, that's huge. If that's a case, then that's maybe holding up some of their early bottleneck. I mean, not that they're being held up. I think they're moving fast.
They're not being held up. There's so much movement in the Solana.
Well, I'm just
right now. It's fucking amazing. Like I've been on calls with founders of Oxygen, Radium, and things that we're working on.
Specifically, one project we were talking to last week who said we would build in Solana, but the Rust devs are too expensive, so we're going to stick to something else. So that's at least one project's take, and I just wonder if they do offer Solidity sometime this summer or whatever.
Got it. Yeah, they're not too expensive. That's surprising to hear, but they're just finding good Rust devs is hard, ironically, because anybody that does code in Rust absolutely fucking loves it. So
There's two things I just wanted to touch on that Ethereum thing for Messi before we move on. And we're thinking about the Ethereum Bitcoin cross, right? And right now it's 0.032. It's 3.2 million Satoshis. To talk about Ethereum, that cross going to 6 million Satoshis or 8 million Satoshis, what we have to think about is, okay, where's Bitcoin going to be if it does rally there, right? With $60,000 Bitcoin, if Ethereum rallies to 6 million Satoshis, we're talking about $3,600 Ethereum. If it rallies to 0.08, we're talking about $4,800 Ethereum. That's a big move here. Now let's think about that rally. Let's say it rallies to 0.06 BTC and Bitcoin is 80,000. Bitcoin's 100,000. Now we're talking about Ethereum trading $6,000. That's one look. The other look is if we continue in this chop consolidation with Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin settles into a $30,000 to $60,000 range and it goes down to the bottom of the range. It goes down to 35K and Ethereum happens to rally up to 0.06. Then we're talking about an Ethereum price that's still $2,000. It's not really shaking anything. But if Bitcoin's 40,000 and ETH rallies to 0.08, we're talking about $3,200 Ethereum. So the ETH BTC cross is so important because it shows that strength of Ethereum in relation to Bitcoin and kind of
shows the rotation.
Yeah. And I just don't know. Like right now, you never know, but if Bitcoin does go down to 40,000, 35,000, a lot of these institutions that are getting in are going to be pretty sour. And B, I don't know if the whole feeling out there is going to be where Ethereum should be 800 or if Ethereum should rally and go to 3,000.
So I was thinking about that though, Rob, and the main institutional players right now, I feel like have cost averages that are in the low 30s. I mean, at the highest. So I was kind of looking at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, and most of the times when Ethereum has been strong versus Bitcoin, Bitcoin has actually been pulling back. So one of the things I'm curious about, because I was trying to think in the same terms you were, like if Bitcoin or if Ethereum Bitcoin gets here, where could Bitcoin be at that point in time? And then where would that put Ethereum? And I was just thinking to myself, we're looking at Bitcoin, which in my opinion is extremely overextended. We've got maybe a potential 3 pushes. There's definitely signs of momentum exhaustion. I mean, it's been a while since I've heard any kind of story of, oh, this new institution stepped in and bought $500 million worth of Bitcoin. You've got the premium on GBTC has been totally evaporated and is negative now. Like, I just am seeing a situation where I don't think institutions are really interested in buying the top, and maybe these guys, somebody else said, well, maybe they're just not announcing.
No, what they're gonna do is they're gonna shop it to their pension clients, and the Omaha, Nebraska fireman's pension is gonna own Bitcoin in their portfolio after a gatekeeper from BlackRock spent 2 fucking years going through due diligence saying, no, you can't, no, you can't. Oh, Goldman and Morgan's, and yes, you can.
Yeah.
And then they're going to give them Bitcoin. They're going to give them Bitcoin exposure on a fucking bilateral swap, which is effectively the same thing as somebody fucking dumping on you.
Yeah. I don't know. Listen, we could go lower. We could be overextended. I still think we're mispriced. I still think this thing is really worth a lot more than it is, personally. So it would
be something.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not what I think, but that's the best narrative there is. And
I think Ethereum I think Ethereum's got another. Like, I think that 3,800 area to 4,000 probably sounds about right. Like on a parabola, and then I have a much higher number for Bitcoin. But it's funny because I'm not I had the same feelings that Messi just talked about with. I am just and this is 25 years of staring at this, of looking at this shit. It's exhausted. I feel like DeFi alts are pretty much fucking exhausted right now. I've covered a lot of my alt positions, and I'm back into more Ethereum and some new. I'm obviously long a fuck ton of BitClout, but that's for another topic. But but I'm in this positions where I'm just back to more the blue chips and long the Solana ecosystem and the FTTs and things like that. So
the one other thing I wanted to touch on with Ethereum, and then we can stop, is a comment that we got in the chat. Who is it? Blade Runner 1874. What's up, homie? ETH outflows from exchanges are mind-boggling, he writes. And it is the truth. I mean, ETH is flowing from exchanges. Bitcoin is as well. There is a decreasing amount of hard coin inventory on these exchanges. And if something, we haven't really seen a true supply crisis with coins on exchange if you get a rush of buyers, right? A rush of spot buyers. There's only so much that the derivative side, the futures sellers can swallow up before they need to go put coins on exchange to actually sell. So that's one thing that I would not rule out. I think that the more ETH that gets taken off exchange and staked and is used for other stuff, we could see some supply issues. And I don't know. What are you guys looking at that? I mean,
the outflows on Ethereum from exchanges have been insane, and not only that, but the amount of Ethereum actually locked up in just shit, whether that be LP or, doing fucking, staked in Ethereum 2.0 through some kind of solution. The amount of Ethereum that's actually locked up and staked off market, I believe at this point is more than the amount of Ethereum that was locked up in the ICO mania. And we're looking at an Ethereum right now to where, I look at Bitcoin and I look at, hey, Bitcoin made a new all-time high and that shit went and it went hard. That was incredible. That is a face melt. That's what euphoria feels like. And then I look at that Ethereum chart and it's just kind of been petering around up there. It made this new all-time high. It didn't even go fucking 2x from its ATH. And it's just been kind of dicking around, waiting for its turn. I do think that, we're at a point in time where it's very obvious that the future of DeFi is not Ethereum. The future of DeFi though is also not Solana, and it's also not Polkadot. It's all
multi. It's multi-chain.
It's going to be a multi-chain future, and all of these chains though have something that they're really good at that the other chains aren't. And what Ethereum is really good at that the other chains aren't is it has the network effects, it has the liquidity, and Ethereum has the decentralization. If I want to pursue a bit more centralization, but I also want extremely high throughput, I can go over to Solana or Binance Smart Chain. There's applications, and you can do shit over there that you can't do on Ethereum. Some of these farms on Binance Smart Chain auto compound for you. And that's just not something that's possible because auto compounding on Ethereum would be extremely expensive. Like you can't set up a contract that, actually pays for that gas. It would just be absolutely absurd. So for me, the main thing is here, it's very important to remember, while there are all of these other solutions that are in development, and there's amazing applications that are being built. In my opinion, Ethereum-based DeFi right now is still the king. And I understand that a lot of retail has been priced out of that, but you have to look at the big money that's actually interested in some of these DeFi things. These big funds that are looking at putting millions of dollars into DeFi don't care about the, $100 transaction fee. They're just coming in and trying to buy the future of finance. So it's an interesting situation. We'll see what happens. I really don't think that we're going to see any kind of maturity at all in DeFi, maybe until 2022. When a lot of these growing pains have been alleviated, when we have great bridges, that's a huge issue right now. The bridges are good, but they're not great. So we got to have great bridges. We have to have great aggregators. I think a lot of people in the future are going to be interacting with DeFi through aggregators, and those aggregators are going to aggregate liquidity across multiple chains. I think 1inch might be one of the leaders in that. They were, I believe, the first aggregator to get on over to Binance Smart Chain. These are super smart guys. They did a lot of the original work on synthetics. So I've got my eyes on 1inch, as a long-term solution, although the token economics are absolute doo-doo. But, it's just something that I'm watching.
You're in it for the tech, man.
I'm in it for the tech anyway. So, whatever. Somebody's saying choppy feed. I've got the YouTube video pull up on my side. I think that may be you because it's coming across super smooth for me. Like when RandomTask just typed that text out, it was just like,
yeah. The one thing is the chart goes black each time I click on a different window. So when I go to chat and respond to somebody, it goes black, and I've been doing that a lot. So I'll stop doing that. I'll just stick to the chart.
Just stick to the chart, bro.
Chart.
Do your fucking job.
You had me thinking about 1inch going to 6 inches, and that's what got me, because that thing is.
Well, what 1inch has never been a shower, It's definitely a grower.
It's a grower, but 1inch is one of the early adopters of this airdrop bootstrap strategy, which we saw something else that's going on this last week in crypto, which I think it's just great to see people are coping. No. But this idea of bootstrapping liquidity and buy-in and community with airdrops, we saw it with Uniswap. Like the new question is like, what is the value of the airdrop that you got from whatever network that you participated in? And it's like, I'll always just connect 1inch to that, because it was like that airdrop after uni. Everyone's like, well, what's going to happen? Is this going to shit the bed, or is this going to rally too? And it shit the bed pretty hard, and went sub 1inch. But it's had real, it trades heavy volume too. That thing trades.
Dude, so I had always used 1inch. I knew at some point they were going to do some kind of token drop or whatever. They knew that I had used them a lot. So I remember I messaged support, months and months and months ago. And I was like, yo, I've been all of my volume, even if the only liquidity source is on Uniswap, I was like, all of my volume goes through 1inch in your contracts. I was like, am I going to get anything for this? And they sent me back a winky face. So I was like, okay, I need to make more fucking trades on here. I'm going to get something. So I finally remembered I got that initial 1inch airdrop. I think my airdrop was worth 40 or 50K. And I thought that I was doing this galaxy brain shit to where I was going to list it as liquidity on SushiSwap for super, super cheap. And I don't know if I was tired or just not thinking or whatever. But the end product of that was I actually sold my $50,000 1-inch airdrop for about 30 cents. So yeah, that was fun for me. It was. I still have the liquidity position too. I haven't sold it. It was fun explaining that to my accountant. What's going on there?
That's brutal. That's really nuts.
Come on, Ethereum, don't SFP.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not.
Yeah, not to be that guy, boys, but it's like 90% probability.
No. Let me show you what's going on though. If you look at Ethereum, Bitcoin right now, that's the.
This is the story.
Ethereum, Bitcoin.
This is the story.
What makes altcoins fucking dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now that's the thing. Like, I'm not looking to long or short Ethereum here. I've got so much altcoin exposure, it's ridiculous. Like, but we got the bullish divergence here on RSI. We're sliding in here, so this looks really good. I mean, sweet spot tag. We got everything we need for reversal. I'm just saying, 90% of the time, these things don't just happen right when you want them to. And this has been drawn up for a while. So unless we close above, hey, if we close above 1922 tonight, I'll shut my mouth. I'll buy a dip. But right now, everything I see just says everyone getting hyped up right here is going to endure probably another week of this. And that's okay. Q2 doesn't start for 2 more days. Let's go.
Yeah. It's really interesting. And I was actually thinking about this earlier, just in terms of quarters. A lot of these cycles have been quarter cycles. If you look at DeFi summer, that occurred over a quarter. And the next quarter it was Bitcoin's time. The next quarter was a little bit of everything. So it'll be interesting to see what the next quarter brings. I do feel like, regardless though, the last 2 quarters, if you ask what the best coin has been, it's been Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been the strongest, the most predictable, the best chart, most talked about. And I understand, there's dog shit that's been going, fucking 10, 20x left and right. But at the same time, just talking about super strong charts, looking at Bitcoin, I don't know if you guys have this pulled up because people actually have been, doing this from a different perspective. But if you actually look at Bitcoin and you draw the diagonal on the trends, and I don't know if you do much diagonal trading, RandomTask, but I love my diagonals. It's clearly a bearish throwback, and you can see that right now Ethereum isn't dumping. Bitcoin dumped on that throwback to the trend line. Ethereum is showing a lot of strength versus Bitcoin. I've got it on the daily time frame. So if you just start, and I do candle body method, but if you draw that trend line from the candle body on the 27th of January and connect it to the candle body on the 28th of February, you can see not only this 3 pushes, this exhaustion that's very obvious in the Bitcoin markets, but you can see a break of trend. You can see the bearish throwback. And I mean, if this weren't Bitcoin and people weren't so brainwashed into up only, any other chart you were looking at, like, people would be opening shorts right here. But you've got everybody saying, oh, they're looking at that last push in the 3 pushes and they're saying, oh, well, that's another flag. Like they've drawn the diagonal on top of that locally. It's broken that diagonal to the upside. So they're like, hey, this is going to keep fucking going up. Come on, do it on the bottom.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Do it in the bottom.
So like right here. Oh yeah. Bearish throwback underneath. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But I mean, so that's like my whole narrative right there is that, people keep saying, oh, but Ethereum can't pump when Bitcoin's pulling back. Well, every single time Ethereum has pumped has been when Bitcoin is pulling back. It's been a rotation. It's this or that. And sometimes, Bitcoin can pump and drag Ethereum US dollar with it. But when you look at that Ethereum Bitcoin chart and you see that, Bitcoin right here is potentially forming this doji on the daily, right here at a really, really critical level. And I think, both from a horizontal and diagonal perspective. And then you see the strength in the Ethereum, versus Bitcoin chart. I'm just not quite sure that Bitcoin has any more sauce.
It is looking pretty expensive to a lot of buyers.
Retail's totally priced out. I can't imagine what retail participant is going to come in and buy Bitcoin at 60,000. You know, I've got tons of no-coiner friends that have been getting into crypto, and they've got a little extra cheddar right now, right? Because they've gotten the Biden bucks, they've gotten their stimmy, and
Hey,
these guys aren't asking.
Angus-
These guys aren't talking about Bitcoin. You know, they're
Angus Mick just sent us 500 coins on TradingView. He says, "Clever seeing a panel approach on the live streams. Thanks for contributing to the community." What's up, Angus?
500 coins. What does that get us?
TradingView coins. We're stacking,
There's the
bro. We're
trading-
not selling. Yeah, they got their own coin.
Stacking TVs. I didn't know that.
Moon.
TV stacks.
How do you know how much TradingView coin you have? Oh, I've got
it's in our profile.
I've got 2,500 TradingView coins.
There you go.
Somehow.
Yeah.
And I've got a referral. Do I get anything
We're
for
stacking.
referral?
I gotta say, I love this Bitcoin price action. It's so clean lately. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty depending where you go, and if you're looking at 10 different analysts, it won't look as clean. But the way I do it, I've just been really loving it. You get, you know, this bullish market structure breakout, came back to the T and just tested that level, and now we're just up into this short reload zone. I mean, we were respecting the fibs, so I'm in heaven right now with this price action. I don't need it to end. I'm happy, but if we decide we're going to break the highs, yeah, I can roll with it. I can roll with all time.
I guess
highs.
where do you guys, if you're not feeling bullish and you do think it's exhausted, where do you rethink things? What if we break through to a new high, but the volume's meh? I mean, does it ever happen where it starts meh and then it fucking launches? Like, where do you guys kind of, or do you just stay away anyway and just say, you know what, I'm not playing this. I don't like it. There's other better setups for me right now. I'm just not going to touch this. Is that kind of where?
Yeah, Bitcoin's not that sexy to me in general. I like to trade multiples. I'm kind of like Messi talks about, you know, fuck 20%, fuck 10%. I want 5x. And I just don't see it on Bitcoin in the time that I think I can do that with, you know, Project X, whatever other one. So I don't actually trade Bitcoin that much. I buy some when I want to go buy some shitcoins. And I, you know, and sometimes I'll go Bitcoin heavy if like Bitcoin dominance is just rallying. But right now I'm just like 90% altcoins.
Where do you guys think Bitcoin ends up this cycle? And do you think, because, you know, we've got a lot of really prominent voices in the community like Suzu saying that, you know, this is it for Bitcoin. This is the super cycle. You know, like we're going to have bear markets, but it's not going to be like this 70, 80%, you know, pullback bear market. You know, we might pull back 40, 50%.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
I think it's a possibility.
Yeah.
I'm so scared, you know, like
my stretch case this cycle is a $3 trillion fully diluted market cap, which would put us at like 147,000. But yeah, like
that'd be something.
probability of it happening, like my market on it is like, it's probably somewhere like in this cycle before you go bear, like I'm probably at like a 15-20 delta right now. Like
what the fuck does that mean?
Like a 15 to 20% probability that it happens.
Okay.
But I think it can.
I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to ask you earlier, you know, what's with there seems to be this broad assumption that everyone's talking about, you know, top Q3, sell everything, Q2 is going to be hot, then sell everything, top. Everyone's looking to be the top, you know, find it. Is all of CT just going to get left behind on a super cycle?
Yes.
I can't help but wonder that. Where everybody's like, I'm comfortable here, I'm comfortable there, I'm comfortable here. And then a year later, they're like, fuck me, the 10-year bull market.
We are not taking the cues that we're being given from other markets right now. I mean, we're just simply not. There are giant pieces of shit, equities and assets that are 10xing and 20xing and trading at valuations that are so dumb, make no sense. We've seen Tesla 10x over a year, and yeah, they're a tech company because they're reinventing cars, but it's still a widget.
They go there because money's toilet paper.
Well, but like, if we really want to see something like that happen, if something like that happens in Bitcoin, where we really see a mania with something like this that also has the institutional backing and you can't really value it, the thing can go way higher than we think. And I'm talking, it could be crazy wicks and all that, but this thing can go way crazier than we're thinking, because we're seeing anecdotal evidence of this happening in a lot of different markets. Crude oil futures going negative, GameStop, like giant turds just going to crazy valuations in the face of hedge fund money. I mean, I think that the tails are just a little fatter, and with Bitcoin, I think we got some fat tails. I mean, it can go.
It should. I mean, there's nothing to point to say that it shouldn't, unless like miraculously you start seeing the 10-year go above 3%, or like, I mean, where's that, like 1.7 now? It's not. It probably is going to sit here and do nothing for a while, and like it could bring a whole new catalyst in, like more money printing. Obviously, like there's that concept of the store value, kind of reset, and that makes a ton of sense. It makes that to me is what gets us in this, like, if there's like another real push, that's what drives it to me. Yeah. It's not like, oh, retail's finally getting, like, everybody in the world knows about fucking Bitcoin at this point. Like,
yeah, I mean, maybe. One thing, we're in the US here, Colin, you're in Canada, so you're kind of like, your Canadian dollar has been a shitcoin with respect to US dollar. But like, there's real people in Argentina, for instance, that are seeing their currency get debased like every day by big amounts. It might not be this retail rush, but it might be like a rush of real people who, in their country, for whatever reason, they can't access the dollar or other reserve currencies, where they need to own Bitcoin or something like it. I mean, that's listen, when I talk about the tails, I'm talking about both sides. Like, we can move lower than we think we can. Like, to say this thing will never trade below 20,000 again is just, I think that's a joke, because we easily could. I don't know why, but we absolutely could.
For the same reason that GameStop can go up fucking 6,000%. Like,
it's both ways. But I do think that the ingredients for some upside, like freakish type of moves, it's just greater here.
There is I think that Bitcoin in general is predisposed, because if you can push it through levels or paint a chart to look bearish, you will get panic selling. You will get people that will get out of their positions, and liquidity, smart market makers will quickly, that liquidity will become absolute fucking vapor. And like, it doesn't matter what's off the market. It's exciting when somebody buys a fuck ton of Bitcoin and puts it and takes it off the market. It doesn't mean they're going to bring it back on, but it also doesn't mean that the market maker is going to stand in there and fucking get his dick kicked in the dirt while the market's selling. He's going to back off and try to buy the best fucking price he can. It's just how it works, right? And that price might be 40,000.
Yeah, people are people.
That's right.
So yeah, if you're a bull on Bitcoin, it doesn't mean you need it to go up. It means you want more, and whatever that, So I do love the narratives when people say, "Well, we're never going down again." We'll overbuy it, and it'll come down to some level. I'm so hesitant, even more so now with all the top calling I see on Twitter, and it's becoming a sport, and that's fine. Like, people do your thing, but it's freaky to me, like how many people just have this shared consensus that this is 2017. We must top later in the year. It must have a 2-year bear market. It's different this time, and I know that's also very cliche, but there are, like Rob said, there's clear fundamental differences, if not in equities and around the world. There's also fundamental differences to what we're buying, what the coins are used for. Messi talks about this all the time. Cash flow, real use cases. If I can get a fixed yield on $100 billion based on Ethereum POS chain, I'm going to park my money there. And people are going to do that. Institutions are going to do that. The $22 trillion of negative bond yields in Japan that we talked about last quarter, they're going to find their way into these yields. They will. And so do we need a 2-year bear market? I know that there's going to be cycles. There's going to be, like you said, Dan, there's going to be some kind of pullback, some kind of sideways consolidation, boredom, for sure. But are we going to see a 99.6% drawdown in all the altcoins? I don't know. I'm not sold.
One thing
I'm not selling.
One thing that's really interesting, this time is, we were talking earlier about liquidity vanishing, at a certain point. And with all of the AMMs now, and with all the liquidity providers, or not all of them, but many of them being really uneducated in terms of market making, I think that a lot more liquidity is going to stick around, on a lot of these coins. These people are going to continue to be LPs. They're doing this long term. They're not necessarily trying to shift that liquidity around or, do anything like that. So, I wonder what kind of implications that has. And also I was thinking, yesterday or the day before, right now, we're in crypto for one reason as opposed to being in equities. And that's because crypto, you get way bigger face melts. You get crazy upside, but we're looking at equities now and we're seeing stocks acting like shitcoins, and stocks are going 10, 20x. Big stocks, not even straight up shitcoin grade, penny stocks, we're talking about big fucking stocks, doing crazy ass shit. And in 2017, I still remember just how euphoric I was, how invincible I felt. I don't feel that way. And I don't know if that's because I've got such bad PTSD, from getting wrecked so hard and seeing crypto go down so hard, or if it's something else. I keep asking myself, what is the new stupid this cycle? Because I'm looking at, coins like Uni at a $20 billion valuation, and last cycle that would have been stupid, right? But this cycle is the new stupid. Uni at a $100 billion valuation. Uni at a $200 billion valuation. This is for sure a bubble. And whenever anybody says oh, it's not a bubble, we made it this time, we have actual use case, this and that, I'm you're not going to convince me to hold my fucking bags all the way down.
Yeah,
I know how this goes.
No,
that's what I was saying. That's why I covered a lot of those ETH based alts, because I'm go ahead, another 3x, man. Who cares? I'm good. I'm long ETH. I got Bitcoin. I got my other positions.
You gotta wonder what the new stupid is going to be, though.
Well, and I guess, I guess that's it though, because I'm a chart guy, so I'll let the chart tell me when I need to take some risk off, when I need to put some risk back on. And right now, it's risk on, and that's it. And I guess that's where it stops. I love talking about this year, this cycle, this future, but at the end of the day, I'm day to day with the charts, and whether that makes me an over trader, and that takes me out of some positions early. So be it. But Uni, I'm not long. Uni, I'm actually hunting for a short. There's a lot of coins I'd love to long.
Uni's really interesting because everybody was so hype on their V3 release, and Hayden had been teasing it, and they finally released it. And there's a couple of interesting things about that release. The first interesting thing that stood out to me was the fact that now you're going to have the ability to have targeted liquidity on the AMM. And what that basically means is that, now I can say, I'm going to be a liquidity provider within a certain range. So for an uneducated market maker, that's absolute rape, because the amount of impermanent loss you could potentially suffer, is going to be insane if you don't have some kind of algorithm that's constantly adjusting the range, the ratios, all of this kind of stuff. They're gearing Uniswap AMM towards really institutional liquidity providers, which is really interesting to me, because the thing that made Uniswap so successful as opposed to the other DEX solutions that had appeared on Ethereum in the past was the fact that anybody could come in, a couple of clicks of a button, look, now you're a fucking market maker. That's incredible, isn't it? And now they're actually taking that very element, what made Uniswap so successful, and they're totally changing it. The second thing that stood out to me was the fact that there is still no use case for the Uni token. There's no value accrual. The governance is a joke because, a few people hold all of the power. There's no kind of sense of actual decentralized governance there. It's just something to where I'm looking at it and I'm just asking myself, SushiSwap has actual value accrual, but even then there's problems with SushiSwap because the LPs and the SushiSwap token holders are at odds. If SushiSwap token holders want to get paid, well, guess whose pockets they're going to take those fees out of? The LPs. And then you look at Uniswap, and there's absolutely zero value accrual to the token at all. And then you've got a $20 billion valuation. Uniswap has the highest valuation out of any of the AMMs. So it just makes you wonder, you know, like Uniswap and stuff like that, you know, is this kind of the beginning of the end, you know, for them? Or are they going to be able to be successful in onboarding, you know, these institutional liquidity providers that are going to successfully, you know, play these ranges and adapt their liquidity with the market? It is a more efficient approach, but it's not an approach for everybody.
Tell me something. You've been around the longest of us, but is Filecoin at number 12 at $11.5 billion market cap at a fully diluted market cap of 350 billion? Is that stupid?
No, you know, FDVs don't matter at all. You know, and that's really something that people have started kind of bringing up this cycle, I feel like. And, you know, maybe last cycle too, because I still remember people were talking about XRP's fully diluted valuation. But for me, I don't put too much weight on when I'm buying something on what that fully diluted valuation is. You know, really all that matters is the here and now. You know, what's the liquidity right now? What's the valuation right now? How many coins are in circulation? Because that's the environment I have to deal with in the present and in the near term. You know, it doesn't matter that Filecoin's got, you know, an absolutely outrageous fully diluted valuation, because the circulating, you know, the actual market cap of the coin right now is still pretty fucking nuts. I mean, who uses Filecoin? Like, what the fuck is that even? But
it's 11.5 billion. It's a lot. It's big. And then what was going on with mobile coin the other day?
Yeah, that's some crazy shit too. When you want to talk about really crazy, I like look at fucking ADA. You know, literally zero use case, zero dApps, zero fucking anything, and it's sitting at number 3.
Well, and you saw Charles Hoskinson. Do you guys know who he is?
No, who is that?
he made a comment that Ethereum's network effects that, you know, kind of we all kind of, you know, we value high. He made a comment that not valuable. People will jump ship. I don't know if that's it.
Lol.
I know. I don't agree with it, but he made that comment.
Smoked.
Yeah. But you're right. Cardano, $45 billion.
I mean, I don't know much about Hoskinson. Yeah, I don't know much about that dude except for that he's super negative. Every time I hear him talking,
he's just really condescending. He's really cocky. He's rich as fuck. You know, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a weird guy. I don't know much about him. I won't be a pro here to talk about ADA, but I will say this chart looks strong. Fundamentals aside, we've been talking about it every week. I just want to short it whenever those smart contracts go live and everyone's cheering mainnet and we sell the news. That's my play fundamentally, but other than that, it just looks strong.
I mean, you know, they've been talking about smart contracts going live for 2 fucking years now, so I don't.
Doesn't that mean more likely that it's soon? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Not to be, I still think it's absurdly valued, but you know, when I hear people saying like, well, they've been saying that for 2 years, so it's dead. Like, I don't know if I buy that logic. But I do find the community funny because they can always tell me the price go up. They can't ever tell me what the fucking use case of the token is.
The thing to me, and I don't know if it was a recycled image, but it's that image of a full room in China. And it might even be this outside area where there was this, you know, there's Cardano, big screen set up, and they were doing like an informational gathering, like a shill fest of Cardano to wealthy Chinese investors. And I don't know if it was recycled, but that idea, well, maybe there are millions of people in China who are buying ADA because they think it's the future of finance. I don't know, but it gets insane trading volume, insane. And
yeah,
I honestly can't figure out how some of these levels are sustained, but
I mean, there's big Asian money behind it, 100%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I've got to, you've got to assume that someone knows something. Like you said, it's super liquid. There's a lot of money propping it up, and they've got apparently some development going on. I still don't know one guy who can answer the question of like, if price doesn't go up, why do I need this coin? But it's all about it's coming. So I'm really curious to know what's coming and who's building on it. And, you know, like, I'm very curious. That's where my interest
they're shopping to mainland Chinese farmers.
Not only that, you know, we've got a Versus Gaming TV in chat says he feels like all the noobs are buying into ADA.
He's right.
You know, and that's actually 100% fucking right. You know, you look at on Twitter, Gene Simmons was shilling that he was an ADA, and you know, he had bought a bunch of ADA, and his reasoning was, you know, people can afford it. You know, I've got, and I was talking about this earlier, you know, I've got no coiner friends that, you know, got their stimulus, they want to buy crypto and shit like that. These guys aren't buying Bitcoin. You know, how off-putting is it to have $1,000 when that's a lot of money to you, and come in and buy 0.00, you know, 5 of a coin or something like that? Like, when you could have $1,000 and come in, and now I've got 1,000 ADA. Like, it's the age-old, like, okay, Bitcoin went from $1 to $50,000. If I buy 1,000 ADA and ADA goes from $1 to $50,000, then I will have, you know, this much money. And it's silly, but that's literally the logic of these people that come in. You know, they're uneducated. They don't understand market capitalization or anything like that. They're just looking at ADA at $1 and Bitcoin at 60. And they're like, I know what I'm buying. You know, it's silly, but that's the truth. And I'm
so
honestly,
is it
like, I'm mindful. I didn't think that was going to be the case this cycle. You know, I for some reason had convinced myself that, you know, all of these dinosaurs and shitcoins weren't going to pump, but it's literally the same fucking shit as in 2017. You know, like, people saw XRP and it's absolute dog shit, and people were like, oh, you know, that's cheap, I'm going to get in. And XRP was one of the best performers of 2017. You know, for that very reason. It's retail candy.
And it's quietly
is
like,
it the XRP?
Looking good, actually.
let's go to the chat and see what they want to see charted.
Shout out to Shane Holloman from New Zealand. Good to see you, bro. Over here in the TradingView chat. Welcome.
Nice.
And people, somebody in chat, it might have been Versus Gaming TV as well, said, you guys sound kind of bearish. You know, weren't you just saying, you know, everything could go like 5-10x from here? Well, I mean, here's the main thing. We're at a point right now where, to me, things seem stupid. But what I was saying earlier, what is the new stupid this cycle? You know, all of the top things, all of those top signs that we saw in 2017 have already presented their ugly faces this cycle. You know, and we've seen those things and we've gone, oh, fuck, you know, like, Soldier Boy is tweeting about Bitcoin again, or you know, like, this dude's getting into Bitcoin, that guy's getting into Bitcoin, Snoop Dogg, you know, but Mark Cuban is converting, you know, he's making Mavs NFTs, like, you know, Justin Sun, like, it's just every top sign from last cycle is here right the fuck now. But at the same time, last cycle's top signals, top things aren't necessarily this cycle's top things. And it's really difficult for me to make that adjustment because the PTSD, you know, I feel like this is really stupid right now, but at some point, and maybe that is 5-10x from here, at some point it's going to be really fucking stupid, maybe, and that will be the new stupid. And we're going to see stupid that you can't even fathom right now. You know, I've talked about this earlier, you know, in terms of a super cycle and this or that, that's one possibility. But there's also another possibility that I think is a very strong possibility, to where institutional money was the biggest meme in 2017. Everybody was, you know, so hungry to get this institutional money in Bitcoin because we knew that's what it was going to take to get us to the next level. So now the institutional money is here. At the end of the day, Bitcoin has pivoted narratives 8 fucking times already. You know, it's been peer-to-peer digital electronic cash. It's been an uncorrelated asset, which is not fucking true at all. You know, it's been digital gold. It's been all of these fucking different things. And people, you know, when it no longer fits a narrative, you know, people just pivot to the next narrative. Oh, it's this now. And all the Bitcoiners get behind it and they rally. But for me, I'm a little worried in that, you know, we have a situation where institutions are kind of like the last boss. Maybe some people are going to say governments are. You know, I have my own opinions about that. But who's going to buy their bags? You know, when these guys have bought and these guys have exposure, who's left? Who's going to buy their bags? And
that's what I'm telling you. An institution, what qualifies an institution is a pension or a sovereign wealth fund. It's not like, who services those things. Those entities are generally banks or BlackRock, which is like a form of a gatekeeper whose job it is to effectively do all the due diligence and kind of take some of the fiduciary liability of everything. But by the time those come around, like, it's so there's so many conflicts of interest actually around like how a gatekeeper, the amount of time they have to take and BS they have to go through to get an investment approved, especially something like Bitcoin. You have so many different variables to deal with. And like by the time that happens, the value's been sucked pretty much out of it, right? And so now it like they finally get approval, they go in and say, hey, we're gonna buy, we're gonna put 3% of our portfolio in, something like that. And like now what happens? Now you have the Goldmans and the Morgan Stanleys and everybody that are saying, hey, we're going to create these like total return swaps for you, or these specific products that will help you get exposure, because they're not going to take physical exposure. There's just too much risk around like, around storage, custody, all this other shit. So like I've seen it happen time and time. Like this is just how the markets work. These guys are generally like the last ones holding the bag. Almost always. It's very rare that you see something where like a situation where like a pension got in early. And the problem with that is kind of twofold. The other issue with it is that like what happens at the end of it is that if that's at the end of the cycle and they're caught holding a bag, and now you have this like teacher's pension or the city pension or whatever that now is like massively offsides on something, like that pension board is not generally made up of investors. They're made up of teachers or firemen or whatever. They're relying on this gatekeeper. Now they miss kind of the opportunity of the investment. They get in, it goes against them. They want fucking blood. And now they start complaining. And the next thing you know, that now you have the congressmen come in and like you start to deal with the regulatory bullshit. And it's just like kind of goes, it's a bad cycle. But eventually they'll hold on to that for 20 years. Eventually it'll work out. But they always end up taking pipe, man. Almost always.
So Sam1117P from chat had an interesting comment. He said, "What do you guys think about Saylor's tweet today?" And I don't know if you guys saw it, but he basically was talking about how, hey, wouldn't it be great if you could have your Bitcoin and then there was like some kind of way to, like take out dollar loans on it so you could like pay your taxes and like do this and that. And everybody was like, bro, you're talking about like fucking DeFi. Like on it, like what are you fucking talking about? Like he thought that he had this like brilliant idea, and that he was like blazing the trails on something, and everybody was like, this has been going on for but somebody else had this idea like 2 years ago, man. Like
that's okay. Remember the guy himself, like he was bearish of Bitcoin early on.
Yeah.
But when the light bulb went off for him, like it really went off, and I applaud him for coming around. Like
I applaud his conviction for sure, but he's definitely like a late adopter. He's not an early adopter of things. So it's funny, when I look at some of these Bitcoin maximalists and how toxic they are, against everything that's happening on Ethereum right now without really having an understanding of decentralized finance or, this or that. And then, they have these galaxy brain ideas, to where, hey, like, let's add this utility to Bitcoin. Let's do this with Bitcoin. We're like, yo, we've been doing this shit for a year. What are you talking about? Like, it's insane.
It's good data though, because it reminds you that even though we may be balls deep in DeFi and be like, why does not everyone see this?
Totally.
How does everyone not notice this? And then you see a guy like Saylor who's balls deep in Bitcoin and front and center in crypto, and he's like, what is DeFi? So it's like, I love it. It's
by the way,
validation. It's like we're early vibe.
The only place on fucking Earth right now where you can actually capture real yield. So like, and that somebody in the chat made a comment about it, and like he's saying we're underestimating the amount of cash that has to go into to chase, to grab yield. Not at all. It's something that we talk about all the time. Like this goes back to the pension thing again. Like a lot of times, like pensions depend on cash flows, and so like they've moved into. There was this whole period where they were taking like risk on assets, like getting long equities to effectively replace yield because there's no yield. And now, by the way, there's no yield. So like, how do you, when you're planning 30 years out, like you're saying, well, I got to make 8% a year in order to pay basically to not, for the pension to not be underwater on its cash flows. And like DeFi actually is like setting the groundwork for it. There's so many, it's so fragile still, but like things are bubbling to the surface. I do honestly think like, and again, it doesn't mean that like we won't go through like a couple cycles of bull and bear markets in the process, but the need for global yield is, to me, is probably one of the top I'd say one of the top 2 or 3 driving factors of like what could drive crypto over the next 20 years. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's happening right now. I actually just had a good buddy of mine share with me what he's doing over on Hxro, which I talked about on our video on Monday. I mean, he's just parked a nice stack of USDC in there, and he's getting, 6-7% on it, fully insured. I mean, that's just one example. There's so many. Somebody commented on that video. They said Celsius is doing something similar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the first time a good friend of mine said, like, look, dude, I'm getting like 1K a week just sitting still, and it's insured and it's stable. And I'm like, dude, let me try. Like, that sounds awesome. It's not very sexy. 6% isn't sexy until someone tells you it's like daily compounding and paying out whatever weekly. Like, that's a paycheck.
It's all about the
Insane.
risk.
That's just like,
if it's risk-free and insured, 6% is a whole lot sexier than 0.5% or 1%. I mean, you just said it, compounding. You risk-free rate of 6%, you can actually like survive on that. We haven't seen a free rate of 6% in traditional markets for a long time.
And I think, if you're not US, you can also lend on straight away on FTX. And when the market's pretty bulled up and there's a lot of borrowing going on, like those yields get fucking insane. Like you can lend out at 100%.
Yeah, it's that, we've talked about it. It's one of the best onboarding features to crypto is yield.
Yep.
And risk-free yield, and even like virtually risk-free yield. It's bigger. I mean, there's some meat on the bone here, and I do think that the institutional piece, some of that risk capital, is definitely going to flow in here, because if I could borrow it, if I could pay 10% to make 40% in by having a perpetual position on that's collecting funding, I'll do it all day. And it's going to come. There is more value that is going to be locked up in the crypto ecosystem. It's just going to grow. Value locked. It's what we see in DeFi. It's one of the reasons, I know it's a controversial new thing with BitClout, but that value locked mechanism is extremely powerful. And the more value that gets locked into something, it really builds network effects, and those tokens, those assets, they're spoken for. They can't be used for other stuff. So it creates real, upward price.
Is Nexo really, is it insured?
They say they are. Somebody asked a really good question. They say, who insures them? I couldn't say offhand. They say it on their website. I know they're Eastern European based. They've got a banking license in Europe, regulated. So who runs their insurance? I don't know. Like in the US and Western stuff, I hear about Prime Trust and FDIC insurance, all that stuff. I don't know what they do in Europe, but that's the kind of conversation you want to have. I mean, these are good questions. Somebody said, Celsius is a little lower, 10.5%. Somebody said if you have a bunch of Nexo tokens, you can actually get a higher yield. Now, I assumed, that's good. Okay, I'm going to get the Nexo tokens and do that. And then my buddy responded. He said, well, look, if you have a bunch of Nexo in your portfolio, say 10%, you actually have volatility built in. He's like, so yeah, you have maybe a higher yield, but what if Nexo drops? What if there's a bear market? I'd rather just have straight USDC and I'll take the lower rate. So it's the other way to look at it. But I'm looking at these things. This is my exit game. And we've talked about this before in the newsletter. Get your stacks up, get a house, whatever it is. My goal is to secure a place to live, pay it off, and then just have a yield, have a passive income. And I can trade with that passive
income. Pay it off, man. You're borrowing right now. You can borrow for free pretty much.
Well,
I'd take that money, I'd pay the fucking mortgage as long as I could, and just like keep stacking yield with that cash.
I mean, my life's pretty volatile historically. I hate debt. I hate liabilities. But I need to get better at like settling into those, because everyone says the same thing. They're like, dude, why would you pay your mortgage?
I was raised that way too. Like, don't, if you want to buy a car, like you actually can't afford it unless you're buying it with cash, like, that kind of thing. And
that's my mental state.
My family had plenty growing up, but at the same time, like it does seem like a smarter option to, especially with the rates on like mortgages and shit where they are right now, like you can, for that money, like if I had, enough money to pay off my mortgage, like I could take that same money, I could generate more yield than the interest rate on my mortgage and just make payments. It just makes more sense. But for me, like that kind of makes me like cringe in the inside because I'm like, no, debt is bad. You shouldn't be carrying debt.
Give it to a bot then, dude. That to me is a psychological shortcut.
I agree. It is. That's emotional.
You're definitely not optimizing your.
Oh, it's not optimization at all. It's just like old school,
old school
like debt is bad mentality. It's
no, it is. It sucks.
And the reality is debt is so cheap right now that it's not a big fucking deal.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, revolving credit and borrowing on a credit card and not fucking paying it off, like stupid. Going to a bank and buying a mortgage, especially when you have like, the value of real assets basically going parabolic. Like it's an insane, with low interest rates, it's fucking insane investment, in my opinion.
Yeah, but there's, you hear it all the time. There's just peace of mind. There's certain items, certain assets. People, it's that house, right? No one's going to take me out of this thing. I'm paid off. No bank going under. No one's going to take me out of here. I own this thing. I'll pay my taxes myself, my utilities, but you're not taking me out. There is some like instinctual thing
comfort
about your home, right?
That's it for me. I always have this like fear that you're going to be leveraged up. You got this mortgage, you got this, you got that, and then something would just happen, and you get like audited or something. I mean, I pay my taxes. I do really fine tooth with that shit, but I hate debt. I hate it. Fuck the banks. I don't want to pay them a dime. But I hear you, Dan, and everyone says that to me. They say, why would you pay that off, man? Just let that fucking low interest rate sit there and do something else with your money. And I'm just like, everything else I do with my money comes with risk, Like, let me get risk-free on the house. Let me get risk-free on the car. But my end game definitely has a lot to do with these kind of yield things. So I'd like to spread it out. In fact, somebody just made a great comment, PureCloud51476 over in TradingView, asking about a yield video. So we didn't actually put one out in depth. The Monday one we just discussed Nexo briefly, but we should do that. We should get an in-depth, look at what are the most stable yields. How do they compare? Who's insuring them? What are the risks? I mean, that's something I want to know.
I'm kind of curious about yields outside of crypto, because I really do. And of course, I think I might keep just a little bit in crypto, but I really do want to get exposure to some of these things outside of crypto, maybe without the smart contract risks and things like that. I want to secure the bag. Basically,
there's no yield, dude.
There's nothing.
There's no real yield.
Just effective yield. How about this passive income generation? Because Versus Gaming TV is saying, like, do you guys think it's worth it to buy 2 or 3 apartments and rent them to people? Like, you like, I don't fucking know, but like, I'm wondering, what are some of the strategies to, hey, I made a bunch of money in crypto. I don't want to have all my eggs in one basket. Like, what are some of the strategies you guys know of? Y'all are a little bit older and you've dealt with the traditional finance world and, income generation longer than I have. I've dealt with it zero. Like, that you can actually get out of crypto and maybe make 5 to 10% a year. I mean, is there anything right now that's lower risk than just saying, fuck it, I can get 20% on my stables in crypto and I'm going to spread my risk out to different farms and see what happens? Like,
here's the ironic thing. Here's the ironic thing is that, and this is my take, I don't have a ton of passive income out on the side, but my take on all that, because I did do some research on it last year, is that it's all saturated. You could find 1,000 little, what do you call it? The guy gets up on stage and there's like 300 people sitting there in the audience. They pay $300, all talking about passive income, grow your wealth. Those things have been around for 40 years. Every one of those options, real estate, all that stuff, very saturated. My cousin was a landlord, I should say, for like 3 or 4 different apartments out east. And he's getting out of it. He's like, fuck it. It's a headache. It doesn't even pay that much. Everyone frowns on it on the East Coast, because you're just like taking up all their homes and renting them out to Airbnbs. So he's actually getting out of it and getting into ding, 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 crypto. Like, really? This is where the yields are at. This is where the sexy stuff's at. This is where the hot passive income plays are at. So ironically, like, I'm like you, I'm kind of like, can I spread out my risk? But I think the risk is headed this way. Like, everyone's trying to get in here.
I have a young cousin, by the way, earning money pretty easily. I have a young cousin who lives in the U.S. and he is doing like, he's delivering people's groceries for them and literally making like $2,500 a week doing it.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I gotta respect the hustle.
All he does is like he hardcore like full day, just like doing I forget the name of the app that it is, but it's amazing.
This is definitely like a poor guy hustle. You know, back when I didn't have any fucking money, I was, you know, barely had money to feed myself and buy my weed. You know, of course, the weed was more important to me back then. But I found out on the internet, and I don't know if you guys knew this or not. If you've ever had an older car, you know how the headlights get a little hazy after a certain period of time. Well, there's kits you can buy to, you know, restore the headlights and, you know, reseal them and everything. That's rich people shit, though. I found out you can take a tube of toothpaste and do basically the same thing. So I still remember, you know, going to the Kroger parking lot with a fucking tube of toothpaste, you know, a big jug of water and a rag, and I was charging people $10 to, you know, restore their headlights, to remove the haze on their headlights.
High school?
No, this is like college, you know, early college.
Got it.
Yeah, I was, you know, fucking maybe 20, 21, you know, early college for me because I was a fuck up. But, you know, it's still, you know, I always respect somebody that's willing to, you know, do something that nobody else wants to do, you know, as a hustle and make a little bit of money, you know.
Were you shirtless?
No, no, not at all. No.
Just try to picture you.
I was 100 and, like I said, I could barely afford to eat. I was 160, 155 pounds back then at 6 feet tall. So, I mean, you could see my ribs and my spine. Every time my mother saw me, she would just cry. And be like, well, then why don't you give me fucking money so I can eat? And she was like, we just can't. We're not giving you any fucking money. Yeah, because you're going to spend all your money on weed.
But you know, the one thing about yield I'll say, and I talked to a good friend of mine, a really sharp guy who's in real estate, private equity. He runs a fund. He said real assets are just getting marked up. Like money is flowing. Like we can't really see it, but the one thing that this policy does is it pushes people out on the risk curve. They are looking to place money to get some sort of yield. He's like, there's stuff where we were about to close a deal before, right at the beginning of the pandemic, and it fell apart. And now we're selling it for 20% higher. And these are real he's like, it's money is flowing. People are looking for hard assets. He didn't think it was going to end anytime soon. I did ask him because on that deal, it was right after the 10-year had popped like 50 basis points. I'm like, well, what happened to your deal here? He's like, yeah, it's not as good right now, but it's still great because interest rates going up. So people are chasing hard assets. You know, we would like to believe that we're in this business with some of the hardest assets, right? I mean, Bitcoin, Ethereum, like these are true hard assets. And if they have utility to them, you know, like real estate, we're talking about you buy property and you rent it. You know, what happens if the renters don't pay you? There is risk there. So
you can Section 8 it.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity. You know, I think anything that has a, you know, backed by the full faith and credit of the government, like, yeah, you know, you're gonna get your rental payment at least. Yeah,
but you know, we are still very Western Hemisphere centric here. Like, you know, what are people chasing? What are they doing elsewhere where their sovereign currencies, their buying power is decreasing against like the dollar and against stuff? You know,
I mean, that's that can go into like a whole show about. It's just that, you know, you and I talk about this a lot about just community capitalism and kind of a return. Like that is a lot of the use case of like when you think about crypto and like where we think the world's going, and you know. Can we create these large scalable networks that allow people to earn in a geographically agnostic way? And I think that's definitely something that we're going to see over this next, you know, how many ever years. You're going to start to see that scale up out of necessity.
Yeah. I do think, you know, when you think about what people need to do all this and attach to all this stuff, it is the network itself, right? So we've seen some popping in some of these decentralized Wi-Fi type of stuff, decentralized web, where we're not going to be relying on the big, you know, dominant factors in that space, and we can create some decentralized connectivity.
Yep.
it's going to become more and more important over time. And we are seeing some prices really move higher there too. So
yeah, the real estate north of the city where I'm at, everyone's moving out of the city now. They can work from home. They just need internet and a connection. And that real estate's shot up 40% in the last year since my buddy's actually shopping for land. And he's been kind of keeping tabs on it. And I'm looking for property there. Like, to answer your question, Messi, I think real estate, according to our chat as well, there's a few guys in here talking about their rental properties, paying off their mortgage, basically using these rental properties. That's probably the route that I would go as well. Land, real estate,
like commercial real estate, getting some land, getting some properties, vacation homes and shit just for myself.
And they're practical.
On those, yeah.
You can live in them. You can visit them. You can rent them out to family if they're hurting. Like, there's use cases there. So
I like the one thing
idea
about land is, we're not making more land, and the population is only increasing unless you believe that the coronavirus vaccine is a satanic ritual to sterilize the majority of the population in the world.
I read that somewhere.
I did too.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I got
it's Bill Gates population control.
I got my second vaccine shot yesterday, about 24 hours ago, and I'm definitely feeling some of that Wuhan flu throughout my body right now. It's not.
Which brand did you get? Did you get Pfizer, Moderna, or
Moderna?
You get the Moderna one. So my wife she's a nurse, so she's one of the first people that got the shot. She's exposed to a lot of that shit in the hospital. So for us, it was I understand, and a lot of people make the argument that like, hey, like the risk of getting fucked up for life is super low if you're in a certain like health bracket, age bracket, et cetera, et cetera. But there are, in my opinion, there's just too many stories of people that, like my dad has an employee that is in her early 30s, does yoga 4 times a week, plays tennis, like all of this shit, and ended up on a ventilator in a hospital for an entire month. And now has some kind of heart damage and lung damage, and the doctors like don't know what the fuck to do about it. She's totally healthy. So, if I can, like, I'm not playing the fucking lottery with that. If I can do anything to mitigate that and, whatever, like I'll do it. But for her, she's exposed to this shit all the time. Like, she's definitely got to do it. And I remember her first shot, she was fine. And then the second shot for an entire day, I mean, she was on the couch under a blanket, sweating, like felt like shit, didn't want to eat. And then the next day it was like, nothing ever happened. She got the Moderna vaccine too. So I got the Pfizer one, and I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case for me because I fucking hate being sick, so much.
Yeah. No, I definitely, I think it's something I was absolutely going to do because I think the math is on our side with this one.
Well, people are acting like this shit, like, it's some kind of satanic ritual and like changes your DNA. And, that's like one of the biggest issues with the information age that we live in is there's just no quality control in the information you're actually getting. And
there's echo chambers.
There's echo chambers. In some way, that's a good thing, because the information we're getting in many cases, is raw. And there was a period in history to where we didn't have access to information that was just that raw and that honest. It'd been processed before it was fed to us. But it also creates the situation now where you do have these disinformation campaigns, and then you've got people that should be speaking from a point of credibility that come out and maybe say something, and now like you had the ex-Pfizer, like he was a bigwig CEO or something like that, but he's the one that started all of the infertility rumors, around the vaccine and stuff like that. And people are like, oh, well, he's ex-Pfizer, like he knows, but there's all the scientific research points to that not being an issue. So I don't fucking know. I mean, fuck, my wife knows several people that have gotten the Moderna vaccine and then got pregnant after they got the vaccine. I mean, her whole fucking wing in the hospital is pregnant, and they all have the vaccine. And the whole wing is pregnant because nobody has shit to do. Everybody's just inside fucking. So I don't know.
You know what? I went down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole in my early 20s, mid 20s, and I'd be curious to get some data on like who is the biggest buyer of some of these stories. And that's not to say, I'm not here to say this is right, that's right. I sit back, sometimes I read through these threads and people arguing, and I find it funny that they have the energy for it. But like, whoever changed somebody's mind on a Twitter thread. But I'd be curious to know what age groups are most, engaging with this kind of content, because when I was in my 20s, it's like you go through high school, you're told how everything is, then you go to university, if you went to college, whatever, or not, then you kind of see behind the curtain. You're like, wait, there's more? There's things we don't know? wait, there's possibilities that all this, and then it's like sheep. And then I find the sheep thing funny because, on the other side of it, you're just listening to a guy on the internet who tells you something, and then you're buying that one.
Regardless. You're kind of your own opinion.
Yeah, you kind of get stuck on both sides of the sheep story. So I don't know. I sit back more as an observer on this shit. I find it funny. I got my own ideas. I'm not actually in a rush to get the vaccine. I probably would if it came along and I was told I can get it, but I don't know. I've been weird about COVID. I never really worried about it.
You say, you went down the conspiracy rabbit hole in your early 20s, because I was the exact same way, dude. I lived on abovetopsecret.com. I mean, refresh. Like I refresh my Twitter now, is there going to be a new thread pop up, a new conspiracy, like something I can read about? I was, and this is embarrassing as hell, but I was totally convinced that the world was ending in 2020 or 2012 or whatever. I was just like, it's over. Like nobody. I still remember telling my dad that, and he just laughed me out of the room. He was like, "Fuck out of here."
Yeah. And you called him a sheep. You're like, you don't know. You haven't seen what I've seen.
Just listening to the man. Like.
Yeah.
I love
the
millennium. Remember the
year 2000 Y2K.
Year 2000 Y2K.
Yeah. I was in grade 8 for that. I still remember that. Yeah.
I was trading it. It's fucking amazing, man.
Oh, I bet, dude. I bet. But the funny thing is that, my dad had a computer science degree around that time. And, everybody, I still remember how, triggered he was over all of that. Because as a programmer, he was just like, this is like the biggest bullshit I've ever heard. What the fuck are they talking about? And then nothing happened. And,
nothing.
Nothing.
Dude, CompuWare, a big software company in Michigan, like, they spent like 2 years, like they had hundreds of employees that were fully dedicated to like taking advantage of that fucking scam. It's amazing. It's crazy.
Well, we just saw in the last 5 minutes buyers of over $40 million worth of Ethereum perpetual futures on FTX. Just made another.
Ethereum dollar is definitely breaking out. We've got to break out in Ethereum versus Bitcoin. So I mean, this looks really, really nice. I mean, in some places in the world, it is April Fool's Day. So, let's hope that there's not some meme that's being made here. But, we'll see.
True.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah. No.
Well, yeah. Look at this buy volume on the perps. Look at this 5 minute. That's pretty interesting. I like that.
Up and away.
Let's just do the thing. I mean,
let's do it, man. Let's do the thing.
Can we send?
Just send it. And
I'm ready, dude. I've literally watched my net worth be the exact same number for 2 months now, and one part of me is like, okay, like that's good, because that just shows me, these things are consolidating, and we're gonna have some upside at some point, and then another part of me is like, oh, am I being dumped on right now? Is that what's going on? Like. So we'll see. I want to take that.
Just get me a bullish close. If we can get a close on the daily,
give me a 2 to 5x.
Then I want
2 to 5x.
Then let's party.
Let's 2 to 5x.
Just close.
Come on,
let's.
I'll just say this, guys. If we get rejected here, we will trend down for a day or two, and everyone will cry.
No,
that brings me pleasure.
That's okay.
Because that'll be my fill. That'll be my.
You know what?
Right here.
You're a sick man.
You
got some fucking issues.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've got so much exposure to altcoins right now. There's nothing I want more. But give me this close. Give me this close first, and then let's party. Let's hang out.
Before we leave, I want to.
We're right at the level.
A quick video of Michael Saylor yesterday, and this one quote I watched it over and over again because it was telling us about the human running this institution who's buying all this Bitcoin, and he's trying to really evangelize for all of corporate world. He wrote it, and he was a bear early on, but when he finally saw the light with Bitcoin, he said in this video, "Once I understood Bitcoin, I would go to bed with anxiety at night, feeling short, because I worried that somebody else would figure out what I had figured out, and they would buy it all, and I wouldn't be able to buy anymore." This is a guy who's like pushing.
He's a degen, man. Like
he is, but that's like, I mean, I know. Listen, he's also good at media. He's good at getting his voice out there, and he's
an amazing salesperson.
He's great, but to think about that now, whether it's true or not, I kind of believe it. But when he finally understood it, and he would go to bed with anxiety at night, feeling short. Like, have you guys ever been in a position where you actually are short, and something's either happened, a headline comes out, and the shit.
And you get out of bed in the middle of the night, and your wife's like, "Where are you going?" And then you're like, "I'll be right back."
Yeah, I've done that so many times.
That is not a good feeling.
No, you fucking race your roots to your office.
Yeah, the fears. I know exactly what you're talking. It
lets you know you're normal, man. That's it. Yeah.
That's actually how I felt in May 2017 when I first got in and alts were going crazy, and I had sent in a bank transfer and it took 5 days to process, and I went to bed every night just watching price trickle up. I know that feeling. You just feel like everyone's about to figure this out and I don't have enough.
Yeah. I mean, that's who we're kind of, I mean, he's pushing right now. He's pushing. So it doesn't take that many more of them to get a little more momentum. But I do understand your feeling, Daniel. You don't know, like, we're not seeing any announcements of people buying $1 billion worth. I mean, it's not that far back.
These guys make headlines because after they're done buying, they want to create that news event where, you know, their dollar cost average is got a little cushion to it. I feel like, at least, you know, like, after I buy something, I'm itching to shill it. And, like, you know, why wouldn't they have that same kind of feeling? So, you know, I really do feel like that, you know, if Bitcoin does end up pulling back to the high 30s, you know, maybe low 40s, mid 40s, I really do feel like that's going to create a situation to where we're going to have a renewed institutional interest and people feel like that they're buying value again, you know, instead of like, holy fuck, I'm buying this shit that's just super overextended and, you know.
Alternatively, it breaks up to like 62, 63, 64, and they go, fuck, I'm not going to get my 40 fill, and they FOMO in.
And by the top.
That's that, well, yeah, or they just buy the next midpoint to the next leg. I mean, this lazy kind of moment we've had on Bitcoin is encouraging to me because tops don't usually come in lazy, you know?
Yeah.
They usually come in pretty violent. I feel really good about that laziness. Obviously, when it's trending down for 4 days, it's like a little bit more nervous about it. You're like, well, fuck, I hope we don't close below 42. But
I mean, Bitcoin is the most obvious, easiest 2x ever in the bag. If you just have if you give no fucks about, you know, how long it takes to get there, if you give no fucks about what happens between now and then, I feel like anybody that just wants to get into crypto and say, fuck it, I'm going to make a little money at some point, like, Bitcoin is still, in my opinion, the easiest way to come in and get that 2x. I don't know how fucking high we're going this cycle. You know, I feel like 100K is like written in the stars, you know, like that's the meme. Hopefully 100K isn't 33K in July level meme. You know, that would be really unfortunate. But, you know, I feel like the numbers that people start throwing out after we hit 100K, like, those are going to be the meme targets. And that's going to be what people are going to, you know, start convincing themselves of and then be disappointed about.
Yeah. The one thing that is also pre-programmed is the fact that there will be insane volatility. I mean, you know, we'll see 100K. We'll start to see $20,000 moves in a day.
Oh God, dude!
There's not going to be anyone putting their line in the sand anywhere up there. I mean, it's kind of the same way we saw some $10,000 days. Didn't we see one or 10 or 11? Like, the moves are going to start to get freaky because it's just not going to be it's not going to be orderly, in my opinion.
On February 9th, we had a candle that went from about 39.5 to about 46.5, which that's I think that's one of the biggest dollar moves that Bitcoin's ever had.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to see some stuff. Do we got any picks to look at? I mean,
you just said the easiest 2x in crypto, and I couldn't help myself but think about one of my coins that I think is an easier 2x.
Actually, an easier 2x is my Shitcoin.
The easier 2x, I must say, sir, is actually ID. Everest ID is sitting at $1. I've been talking about it ad nauseum since, you know, its little dip down into the 45-60 cent range. So I have my 2x. I haven't sold any, which is weird. I usually take a quick 2x anytime I get it. But I still don't see anyone talking about this thing. I don't see any energy in it. But I see the buy volume coming in, and I think at 98 cents, I would say that right now it's my favorite to be an easy quote unquote 2x, no guarantees from management.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about, you know, if we want to include it when we're talking about easy 2x's, you know, the plethora of shitcoins and stuff in the basket, there's definitely easier 2x's than Bitcoin out there. You know, my main thing was just like, hey, I'm a Coinbase bitch. You know, I'm going to get on and, you know, what am I going to buy? Like,
for normies, for coming in, like I want to buy a stock, I want to do this. Like
no hassle, no worries. I mean, probably stress because you're an inexperienced market participant and you're going to, you know, maybe buy and see your net worth go down and then up and then down. Like, you know, that's the Bitcoin. I'm going to say, you know, my shill is Rook here at $340. You know, not many people realize this, but EIP 1559 is an incredibly strong narrative for Rook. And the reason being is, you know, these miners are so aggressively against. Where's Dan? Dan, you taking a bathroom break, bro?
Dan faded away. He had an important call. We ran a little late, so he had to cut.
Oh, okay. I was just, you know, I was wondering if he was supposed to be there. But just thinking about EIP 1559, one of the biggest issues here is that miners are losing revenue. But another issue is that the miners are the people that have to support the fork, right? So these miners, it's pretty much inevitable that they have to kind of bend the knee. They have to support the fork because of Ethereum-based DeFi, you know, and we're looking at, you know, what chain is USDC going to support? What chain is USDT going to support? Because those assets can't exist, you know, and maintain a dollar peg on two different chains. You know, we've got to pick a fucking chain here. So we're running into a situation where these miners are actually going to start doing things that are super sketchy to make up for this lost revenue. And these are the same guys that have the capability to order transactions and do things like that. So they have like ultimate power here. MEV extraction is going to be one of the big ways they do this. What does that mean? This means that miners directly are going to be front running and sandwiching your orders on AMM. Anything that you do on chain, they're going to be fucking you up the ass and they're going to be taking your money. So pretty much the only thing that combats this negative side effect of EIP 1559 at this moment is Keeper DAO. And I think people are definitely sleeping on it super hard. I mean, at $340, I think it's an absolute steal.
It's in the dead zone.
The other day,
you
wrote that the value of their treasury is $50 million right now.
They've got $50 million in the treasury. In the last 30 days alone, the treasury has grown by $10 million.
So when it comes to that treasury, and you can think about that as book value, let's say it was run by a board or you know, governance, and you decided, all right, we're just going to distribute $50 million to all token holders based on your pro rata share. Like, how does that relate to current capitalization of Rook? I mean, it's a big number, $50 million of treasury value. I'm guessing
for every Rook out there, you know, they can distribute, I guess, like $50, you know, or something like that. I'm definitely not going to be voting to distribute the treasury. I definitely think that there's better things to do with it. You know, not many people know this. Well, governance is coming early May, and then we get to just vote on, you know, what the fuck to do. And are you talking about like a floor value potentially?
Yeah, I'm talking about like book value. Right now, I'm looking at CoinMarketCap. I'm seeing a $12.3 million market cap based on circulating supplies. So
that's CoinMarketCap's wrong. I mean, the real market capitalization for Rook right now is around $340 million, which is backed by about $50 million in assets. Now, when we're talking about true circulating, the vast majority of those tokens, maybe 650,000 of them, are actually classified as team tokens. They're tokens that they're going to use to, like they sold Alameda, actually. They sold Alameda 40,000 tokens for some undisclosed amount. But those tokens are for bringing in strategic partners to run keepers in their coordination game. You know, they've made a strategic partnership with Kyber. You know, you've got Three Arrows in there. Polychain is sitting on, they're the largest holder of Rook that's not the team. They've got about 100,000 of them.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing here is that, you know, with $50 million, we can now say, hey, we're going to hire the best Solidity dev in existence, and we're going to pay him $2 million a year. You know, how can he say no? We're going to give you a $2 million a year salary, and that's going to be nothing for us. You know, we can fund research into MEV. We can really fucking do anything. There's so many things we can use that treasury for that are just huge value adds to the Rook token. I mean, we can say every week, let's take, you know, let's take 50% of what's in the treasury and let's, you know, do some kind of buy and make model for Rook. I mean, this is all coming early May, so I'm sure there's going to be some interesting discussions, you know, surrounding that by then. And what not many people know, there's actually a big Rook update coming out evening, Western time zones tonight. So we'll see what that brings. But the big thing that everybody's excited about, in the near term, are liquidations are coming to Rook, are coming to keep your DAO, and that's going to be really interesting. If you have collateralized debt positions, you can actually run them through Keep Your DAO. And you can get, if, God forbid you were liquidated, you can get more favorable liquidation prices, maybe not be liquidated, those kind of things. There's several benefits.
Ooh, interesting. I got to say, I've been listening and watching the Rook takes over the months, longed it with you a little while ago, ended up selling out around whatever it was, 600 and something before that breakdown. Because the chart just said, hey, I'm going to cool off for a bit. But I thought it was uncanny the day that you tweeted out that the guy, somebody in, I guess it was one of the chats you're in, that was saying like a big rant about how Rook is dead. And it was on the chart, like to the day it tagged the zone that I had marked Rook is dead. Like when it hits here and the sentiment is Rook is dead, that's when I'll get interested again. And I've been talking about it in our Discord, which you guys should join if you haven't already, by the way. The trading pit is dope in there. But
join the Discord and hit that like button. Do we really only have 59 likes here? Like, we got 200 people watching.
Crank it up, guys. Come on now.
Come on, guys.
It's free. But yeah, so I thought that was amazing. And that actually kind of, reminded me like, oh, fuck, I got to go pick up some Rook. So I actually am looking to get long here. I'm not in a rush. I don't see it coming out of this zone just yet. I think it needs to cool down.
It's got a little bit of work to do.
Yeah, it's got some cleaning up to do down here. But last time it took a month and a half in the zone, just actually a month. So I might wait a week or two, but we'll see. Like we'll see it on the chart when the volume breaks out. It was clear as day the last time. I wish I had my chart up here. I'll show you guys, but we'll talk about it on Friday if you guys ask. But yeah, you'll see a little uptick in buy volume, and that'll tell you that this zone is ready to move. And then I'm going to be buying my Rook back.
And I will say, RandomTask made the comment, you guys should join our Discord. I don't know if you guys have been around the Hxro community for a while. We've had the trading pit on Telegram for a really long time. But we actually have a Hxro Labs Discord now, which has a trading pit section in it. There's voice rooms, there's NFT trading rooms, there's yield farming rooms. But there's actually two really special rooms in there. And one of those rooms is messy charts, and one of those rooms is random task charts. So if you enjoy our charting and our analysis and insights and stuff like that, we're the only people that can post in those channels. So you can actually get into Discord, and even if you don't want to be an active participant and talk, every single day, I post like pages of research and information in my channel. I know RandomTask posts all sorts of great setups and stuff like that in his channel, education, things like that. I think you guys would definitely really enjoy that. If you would like to join, I will tweet out in just a moment. I think Hxro Labs account will tweet it out as well, the link to join that Discord channel. Now, here's another thing special. We actually have a bot that monitors your activity in our Discord. And if you are an active participant in our Discord and in our community, you're given a special status in the Discord, and that's the Hxro Ape status. And we actually have a request for research channel that only people that are active in the Discord can post in. And there's some interesting conversations and stuff that are kind of off topic in there, which, I think we may or may not clean up. But the important thing here is that you actually have the capability to, in a low noise environment, come and say, hey, could you chart this for me? Could you take a look at the Nansen AI on this for me? And what we'll actually do is, I've been taking things from that channel and I've been charting them and I've been posting them to my messy charts channel. So you guys definitely get in that Discord. I can see it in the right there. Hxro Labs has posted this. Get in this Discord and check it out. We've got about 500 to 600 people in there right now, and it's only been live for like 2 weeks. So I'm really stoked about it. And just as opposed to the trading pit on Telegram, which is chaos, the signal to noise ratio here is really good. I mean, there's good people. There's not a lot of spammers and people trying to sell you shit. We actually have an entire channel called Shills, which is just dedicated to, hey, I've got a bag of this and I want to try to sell you. I'm going to pitch you on this. So get in there, guys. Check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it.
It's great. It is. I honestly, I think it's great content, and it's free. I mean, it doesn't get much better. My one thing I'm watching closely right now, we've obviously spent a lot of time talking about Ethereum because it is at a critical juncture, and it's everyone's waiting for this thing to break out. So along with Ethereum showing some strength here, We've talked about a couple of names. ZRX was one from a few weeks ago. That's, I'll tell you, it's looking really, really ripe and good right now. I mean,
I agree
that it's painting. I'm trying not to I'm just trying to hold on to my position and not freak out at the top of this thing. RT, I don't know if you can pull up the chart on that, but ZRX is, it can finally break out. It is a, people say to me when I'm talking to them, isn't that just an old coin, last generation? I'm like, dude, ZRX is used more in DeFi than maybe anything else.
If you have used DeFi, you've probably used 0x and had zero clue that you were using it. I mean, it's literally one of the backbones of DeFi.
Yep, it truly is. The USD pair, I mean, it is looking nutty to me. What do you think about the BTC pair there?
We looked at it yesterday and it looks great. I mean, I was waiting for the close. I'm glad you brought it up because I haven't bought any yet, but I was waiting for this close. I just said, look, let's close above here. Let's see where the volume's at. It's broken out on volume. So I love it versus Bitcoin. And if you zoom out, this whole thing, and we talked about this weeks ago when you brought it up, and this whole thing is just looking like bottom accumulation. So if it wants to go from here, I'm happy to get on board. And as you can see, when somebody might say, well, why are you waiting for the close if it looks bullish? Well, look at the range that I'm looking at, right? So I don't really care if I get it here or 10% above or whatever, because I'm looking to position myself here for a while, and it looks great.
That looks like it could be really explosive out of here. I mean, that looks very springy to me.
That's what she said.
Yeah, but it's navigating this fib extension here versus USD, and it looks like it's just breaking out of the top of that. So then you got to say, well, what comes next? And what would come next on my chart is the fib extension.
We got a chaos level.
Yeah, you know me. Chaos comes second. So fib extension is like, more conservative. It's like, okay, where we probably headed. And then if you want to get chaotic, you could take this entire range, which is going to give you a fat target, and that's going to be up around 480. Or you could take a slightly more conservative range right here out of this last little move, and that's going to give you this right up here, kind of confluent with fib extension.
I think ZRX is going to $5 all day. I don't think there's a future where ZRX is not $5 at some point.
I agree with you. I think I've been so scorned and hurt by it. Like you look at these spikes and you get huge volume, and it's been lately, it's the PTSD thing. It's just followed by retrace that's deep. And
how much time this shit spent in those lower price ranges though? Like, I mean, the amount of accumulation and the amount of time for people to buy there, and now we've only got one push up. Really, it's this could be a monster. And I have heard news regarding ZRX. There's actually going to be some kind of fees that are enforced for using the protocol, and so some real value accrual to the token coming towards the end of 2021. So the fundamentals are definitely there too.
That's big. That's because shit usually trades ahead of that. It doesn't usually wait for that to happen. People will buy it in anticipation of, oh, you mean there's going to be value accrual that's meaningful, and it's one of the most then people are going to start to get in there, and that's what we need. But it looks so primed. But don't, everybody who's watching, don't go in and buy this green dildo we're looking at and think that there's not going to be another chance to get in here. You're gonna have time to enter this thing. Usually, I mean, it's rare that you don't get a little pullback to buy, right?
I'm glad you brought that up, because we get so fired up about these things. I find historically, we talk so bullish on Wednesdays. We get these really nice days on Wednesday afternoons, and then it's always like Thursday, Friday shit dumps, and I'm like, man, I rewatch the video the next day just for notes and whatever, and I'm like, fuck, we were, you know what I mean? So as with everything, guys, manage risk, pick an entry. Like, I like to use the pump chaser zone. We probably just came out of that here on the USD pair. Yeah. So it's all about managing risk. And if you want to hold through the end, like, look at this, there's your pump chaser zone. So you got to know your time frame. If you're saying I'm going to hold no matter what to the end of the year, then anywhere in here, if you think it's going up, is probably fine. But if you're trying to go find a leverage long on perps, this is just a place to get shit on.
But I will tell you, and Chase brings up my second point here in the chat on YouTube, and that's with Ethereum potentially making moves here, you do have to be cognizant of the altcoin Ethereum pairs. You know, Ethereum rallying, sometimes altcoin like Ethereum ecosystem coins, they might take a little heat in Ethereum terms. They could come under pressure. People are like, well, I'm getting into Ethereum. I'm moving my alts into Ethereum because it's about to go. So it's not a given that, you know, the alts that are in the Ethereum ecosystem are all going to moon along with Ethereum. There's timing issues. That's obviously part of the game. If it was easy enough, we'd all be billionaires. But it is important to look at some of these pairs in Ethereum if Ethereum starts to do some move.
Yeah, especially if it comes with some velocity and it starts looking like there's a gap above and it's going to go $300-400. Yeah, I don't want to trade against it. Yeah. Bitcoin dominance breaking down ? Let's leave that as our sort of closing thought today. Okay. I've got, you know, a call out on ID. I still think there's room, a ton of room to grow, and I'm excited. I haven't sold any of my 40, 50, 60 cent bags. Messi, you were talking about Rook definitely being in an interesting spot here. I happen to agree. It's right down in my reload zone that I've been waiting and watching. If I see it tick out of here, if I see some breakout on volume, I'm with you. And then ZRX, there's your bullish path for the year based on some chaos theory targets. And that just looks possible. So let's see where that ends up. I'll be trading it versus Bitcoin personally. I like, you know, the narrative here around Bitcoin. I'm going to show you guys why in a sec. But this chart right here, it just looks like, you know, when I want to buy something cheap, this looks cheaper. So call me crazy, but I'm going to be buying any kind of dip down to here, 27.7. I might even just add to a little bag now, like start a little bag here and then looking to add on dips because this thing just looks so ready to break out of this range. All that to say, Bitcoin dominance breaking down, ? Because that is how you get the rocket fuel in altcoins. And it has been sitting in this range since February 1st. All the gains we've seen, everything we've enjoyed this month has been in a flat Bitcoin dominance range. If we break from here, oh my God, it's going to be amazing. That would be really bullish, and for everything trading against Bitcoin. Now, on the higher time frames, like peak alt season objective for me later this year, still 50%. And of course, you guys know me with the reload zones. We could go deeper, but this is looking so good right now. I mean, this just looks drippy. It doesn't look strong. Yeah. Bitcoin looks tired. Altcoins look hungry. And you can see it on the chart. You can see all the buy volume coming in at the lows on these altcoins. I mean, people are rotating Bitcoin into altcoins. It's right there on the chart. So couldn't be more excited for what's coming up in Q2, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's get back to the studio for a quick cheerio.
All right. This is great. Thanks. It's great crowd in the chat. I love the chat. Chat's getting they want to see their stuff. I love it.
Been enjoying the chat today, guys. Great conversation, fellas. Messi, why don't you take us out today on this fabulous Wednesday afternoon after a 2-hour sesh?
I don't know where I was going with that, but guys, thank you so much for being here. Apes Together Strong. Listen, when things are pumping, I just want to remind everybody because, you know, things that go up must come down. But just remember, okay, if your shit is going 3x, 4x, 5x, you don't have to take the whole position off, but it's always, always very, very smart to go ahead and pay yourself so you don't live with regrets, so you don't live with pain. Trust me, guys, I know it hurts selling your dreams, but I have not one time ever regretted taking a little bit of profit and putting that in the bank. So with that being said, thank you for coming. Hit that fucking like button. Subscribe to our channel. Please join the Discord. Looking forward to seeing you guys there. And until next time, adios.
See ya.
Take care, everybody.